if a river splits a city in two? You build a bridge. 1, 2, maybe 3. It all depends on how ambitious the local authorities are about developing their city. And if we're talking about China, namely the capital of a province that boasts top scores in just about everything, well, that's when it's time for another construction feat. So the Chinese didn't just go for an ordinary bridge, they wanted a way not over the river, but under it. During its construction, the Chinese overcame some insane challenges and brought in cutting-edge machinery. But the most interesting thing is that more than 2 miles of underground and underwater tunnel were built in just 110 days. Let's dive into what kind of record-breaking project the Chinese are working on now. They decided to build a tunnel in the Shandong province in eastern China, in its most important spot, the capital city, Jinan. Everything here is, let's say, on a capital scale. The population reaches 9.4 million. The economy is one of the strongest in the country. With a GDP of $190 billion, Jinan ranks among the top 20 cities in China. Jinan has big steel mills that produce pig iron, ingots, and finished steel. There are also chemical plants. The city's a key transport hub with lots of routes passing through. It's so important that China's national truck manufacturer, Sinotruk, set up its headquarters here. One of the city's attractions is the Jinan Innovation Zone, one of the first state-level high-tech industrial development zones. It focuses on IT, equipment manufacturing, medicine, quantum technology, blockchain, cyberspace, and everything else that matters in today's world. There are also old houses in the city center. They kind of get in the way of building something more useful, so they should probably be removed. But at the same time, they're part of the city's cultural heritage. In Jinan, they found a unique and high-tech solution. They put the houses on moving wheel systems. Just like that, for example, a 127-year-old house was moved 230 feet to a new spot without a scratch. The city's innovation shows even in things like this. When it comes to education, Jinan keeps up with the country's top research hubs. The city's home to several major universities, including Shandong University, which ranks high in various charts. As a result, we have a city with universities that, according to the Nature Index 2023 ranking, hold 35th place among all universities worldwide for scientific research. Jinan also earned the title of a beta city in the Globalization and World Cities Research Network ranking, a notch below China's alpha cities like Shanghai, but still pretty respectable. Besides that, the authorities are putting a lot of focus on the city's development. In 2024, it was reported that the total investment in Shandong province reached 1.21 trillion yuan, or $168 billion. Out of all the projects, 660 were aimed at upgrading the industry, while 156 focused on transport and other infrastructure. Notably, those 600 projects were funded by private businesses, which means this city is truly attractive for investment. In general, the city interests many people and businesses. However, Jinan has one problem. It's crossed by one of China's 2 main waterways, the Huanghe or Yellow River. No, we're not talking about the Chinese and the developed provincial capital crossing the river in boats to get to the other side. Of course, a bunch of paths have already been built that let you get to somewhere on the opposite shore. As of 2024, you could cross the Yellow River within the city limits of Jinan via 15 bridges. Here, for example, a bridge that opened just recently in January 2022. Its length is 12,400 feet, with the main section stretching over 4,370 feet. This is the widest bridge over the Yellow River. Its width is 200 feet, and here's another record. It's the longest 3-tower self-staying suspension bridge in the world. As you can tell, China loves breaking records. A total of 114,000 tons of steel was used to build all of this. Actually, just in the 3 towers of the bridge, they used as much material as would be enough for 2 Eiffel Towers. The price of this bridge was quite fitting, almost $900 million. The bridge was originally built to ease the traffic system of Jinan. The record-breaking width of the Yellow River is exactly needed to fit both road and rail traffic. There's also another bridge on the river in Jinan with a total length of 22,119 feet, and the main span is 3,800 feet. It's the first through-arch bridge with mesh ties on the Yellow River. The bridge has also set a couple of world records. In short, it's all in China's style. But for getting across the banks, the key thing is different. The bridge has an 8-lane, 2-way highway that functions like a city expressway and lets you speed up to 37 miles per hour. They built tunnels here too. Here, for example, is one of the latest projects from the city planners of Jinan, an underground route 3 miles long. Its diameter is 52 feet, setting a record. It's the widest shield tunnel in the country for both cars and trains. Yes, both cars and trains can move along this tunnel, and if you're wondering how, here's the answer. Above, there's a two-way 6-lane highway, and below, there's a railway transit. And there are also evacuation routes and everything else that couldn't fit in the top part. It might already seem like there's definitely enough for crossing from one bank to the other, but the population of such a developed city will obviously grow, which means it'll expand, and that will lead to an influx of people. This clearly worries the authorities in Jinan and China as a whole, so much so that they decided to build yet another record-breaking underground crossing. Construction of the nearly 4-mile route began on September 1st, 2024, and immediately made headlines in many countries because the Chinese started building a tunnel with the largest diameter of all similar projects. It reached 56 feet. Here, for example, is the Channel Tunnel connecting the UK and France. It's more than 31 miles long, so by this measure, the European route definitely beats its Chinese competitor. But the diameter of the rail tunnels on the UK-French crossing is almost 3 times smaller, only 25 feet. Just a reminder, the tunnel runs beneath the riverbed, so it needs to be able to withstand both the solid surrounding rock and the water of the Yellow River flowing above. For this reason, as of January 2025, the tunnel has been equipped with over 1,600 ring segments, which will protect the tunnel from any emergency situations. For the people of Jinan, it's important how the tunnel will handle the huge flow of people who want to cross from one shore to the other. And here's some good news for them. The underground path will have 6 lanes in both directions. One could wonder how the Chinese plan to fit so many lanes in an underground tunnel. Yes, the diameter is record-breaking, but something like that needs a whole lot of space. The solution is simple and brilliant. The tunnel will be 2 stories. In one direction, cars will travel on the upper path with a height of 18 feet, and in the other, they'll use the lower one, which is 15 feet high. In both tunnels, you can drive at speeds of up to 37 miles per hour, so the 4 miles under the river will be covered in a fairly short time. The only problem is that the authorities plan to charge a fee for the ride for 25 years after the construction is finished. Overall, it makes sense. They need to recoup the cost of such a massive project. As it's claimed, the one-tube tunnel will account for 7.4% of all traffic across the Yellow River. It doesn't seem like much, but with over 9 million people living in the city, this new route will seriously ease the capital's transportation system in Shandong province. Now we just have to wait for the construction to finish, which is planned for 2025. Can we trust this information? Well, first of all, the Chinese usually don't have a habit of extending the deadlines for their infrastructure projects. Secondly, the part of the tunnel that's under the river has already been built. As we mentioned at the very beginning, it was completed in an incredible 110 days. By the way, this is another record, the fastest construction of this type of track. How'd they manage to achieve this in Jinan? It sounds strange, but Germany helped. Specifically, Connect, the company that creates tunnel boring machines and the equipment for them. To create a tunnel under the Yellow River, a special machine was needed, one capable of performing tasks in tough conditions, and Jinan got one. Here it is, called Shanhei. The geological environment at the construction site involved high groundwater pressure. The machine, of course, had to withstand these conditions, so Shanhei equipped it with a special technology. Thanks to this, the pressure in the excavation chamber is precisely controlled with an automatically controlled cushion. This means heterogeneous geological conditions and high pressures over 15 bars can be safely managed even with large excavation diameters. Speaking of diameters, the original condition was to build one tunnel that would fit 2 6-lane roads. Shanhei was perfect for this, and that's how the tunnel with a large diameter of 56 feet was made. During such work, there's a big risk of clogging. Shanhei didn't have any problems with that either. It's equipped with a washing system that helps prevent all the trash issues that could arise. On top of that, the machine has a telescopic camera system to monitor the cutters and tunnel face. This seriously reduces the need for dangerous and lengthy maintenance. And the most impressive thing, Connect provided the Chinese with a machine that has a cutter head drive power of 7,510 horsepower or 5,600 kilowatts. Its torque is 35,017 kilonewton meters. Now you see how the Chinese managed to dig such a complex tunnel so quickly? To give you an even better sense of the power of this machine, consider this. During one stage of the construction, Shanhei dug a tunnel 1,400 feet long in just 1 month, and its top speed reached anywhere from 52 to 59 feet a day. No wonder this machine has such a menacing look. Shanhei is a monster in the tunnel construction world. The price reflects this too. If someone wants to dig a large diameter tunnel in their backyard, they'll have to pay around 80 million US dollars. By the way, this is another sign that Jinan really needs this tunnel, and it could seriously change the city's traffic situation. It's surprising, but the Germans from Herrenknecht with their tunnel boring machines have had a hand not only in this tunnel in the capital city of Shandong, they've spread their influence all across China, and even made it into the holy grail of China's economic development, Hong Kong. Before 1998, Hong Kong had an airport right in the city. Then they moved it to a different location. They demolished everything unnecessary on the uninhabited and undeveloped islands, then piled tons of concrete, sand, and everything else to build artificial land. And it was right there that they moved the airport. Since 1998, China's economic capital has been served by this very object, Hong Kong International Airport. Then they needed to connect the new island airport with the Northwest New Territories, specifically with Tuen Mun and Yuen Long. It was right at this point that the Chinese started thinking about how to do it and contacted Herrenknecht, who had a solution. It has three names. The first one is TBM Tuen Mun Chek Lap Kok, named after the route that the machine helped create. The second name is Xin Linghu. The third and formal name is McShield S880. Have you heard about Bertha, the tunnel boring machine? It was designed and built in Japan, then arrived in Seattle in 2013 to dig tunnels. Its diameter is 57.4 feet, and it's the largest tunnel boring machine in the world. Well, it was until McShield S880 came along with a diameter 0.3 feet bigger, making it 57.7 feet. Yes, the Shanhei from Jinan, which we've already talked about today, could have been one of the two biggest tunnel boring machines in the world, but alas, there's the McShield S880. Besides, the McShield S880 is 390 feet long and weighs 4,850 tons. In short, just like the biggest machine of this kind in the world is supposed to be. They started building the tunnel to Hong Kong Airport in 2013, but the machine began working in 2015. Initially, a tunnel about 2,130 feet long was dug with a diameter matching that of the McShield S880, but then it turned out that it needed to be modified. Part of the tunnel had to have a smaller diameter. The huge McShield S880 showed another positive side here. The Chinese took its main components and created a machine with a smaller diameter of 46 feet to continue the underwater path to the Hong Kong airport. The best drilling speed was 101 feet per day or 548 feet per week, which allowed them to reach the destination as early as 2019. The project members have probably never been as happy as during this event. Two machines simultaneously broke through the wall, marking the end of drilling the underwater tunnels, each about 3 miles long. Is that it? Of course not. Of course, in the project of the underground and underwater tunnel to Hong Kong International Airport, additional cross passages were needed so that the parallel tunnels could be connected. But first, there was one problem to be solved. The large tunnel boring machines needed maintenance, and obviously this was done in the already constructed tunnels. Meanwhile, they also had to make passages. But the Chinese, as usual, pulled it off. Two of these micro-tunneling machines, AVN 3000, were able to complete 46 crossings in a very tight time frame. If that doesn't sound especially fast, the company Herrenknecht, which made them, claims that each tunnel-to-tunnel crossing took on average 20 days to complete. By the way, have you ever thought about how people actually get involved in a project like this? I mean, tunnel boring machines need to be maintained because they're not fully automated yet. It's still a job for human hands. Monitoring the work and checking the condition of the tunnel, that too. Plus, there are plenty of tasks that just can't be done without a person. And here, let's remind you, everything was happening at a depth of over 164 feet. This meant there was high pressure, so you couldn't just go down to the work site and then after the shift quickly and easily get back out. It all worked the same way as with saturation diving, where people live and work under the same high pressure. The workers' living quarters were filled with a compressed mixture of oxygen, nitrogen, and helium to help them acclimate to the underground conditions. When it was time for a shift, they would get into a sealed shuttle and head to the tunnel. Then they worked for 6 hours and came back. This way, they managed to significantly reduce the frequency of compression and decompression of air, thus lowering the potential risk of decompression sickness. The road from the mainland to Hong Kong International Airport became open for traffic on December 27, 2020. So what did the people of Hong Kong and the visitors to China's economic capital get in the end? Look, without the new route to the airport, you had to drive on this highway called North Lantau. The road has 3 lanes in each direction, and the speed limit is 68 miles per hour, which is the highest of any road in Hong Kong. This is great because you can get to the airport as quickly as possible. However, it's important to note that the road would often get flooded. For instance, on June 7, 2008, the highway was totally taken over by water. It was shut down, which made the airport entirely unreachable by road. Around 20 cars got stuck at the scene of the incident due to the floodwater. It might seem not that important, but this event caused a huge traffic jam. As a result, besides those 20 cars, another 1,000 got trapped because of the traffic jam, which stretched about 6 miles. There are a lot of cars on the highway in general. For example, in 2016, the average daily traffic was recorded at 54,410, and on one stretch it was even 66,110. So it's not just flooding, but any road issue could lead to massive traffic jams. Imagine what it was like for people who decided to get to the airport from the western part of mainland Hong Kong, from a place that's on the opposite side of the water from the island where the planes land. Before the new route opened, they had to take a long detour, spending a couple of hours on the road, but now just a few dozen minutes and you're there. Perfect. So basically, you get that the collaboration between Germany and China has led to amazing results and cool projects, and we kind of feel that there will be hundreds more projects like these.